Biology diagram based practice question 6. Question number 1. The following diagram shows the working of an electrostatic precipitator. Identify the correct statement. Shown in the diagram, electrostatic precipitator. We are dependent on air for our respiratory needs. Air pollutants cause injury to all living organisms. They reduce growth and yield of crops and cause premature death of plants. Air pollutants also deleteriously affect the respiratory system of humans and of animals. Harmful effects depend on the concentration of pollutants, duration of exposure, and the organism. Smokestacks of thermal power plants, smelters, and other industries release particulate and gaseous air pollutants together with harmless gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, etc. These pollutants must be separated and filtered out before releasing the harmless gases into the atmosphere. There are several ways removing the particulate matter. The most widely used of which is the electrostatic precipitator, which can remove over 99% particulate matter present in the exhaust from a thermal power plant. It has electrode wires that are maintained at several thousand volts, which produce a corona that releases electrons. These electrons attach to dust particles, giving them a net negative charge. The collecting plates are grounded and attract the charged dust particles. The velocity of air between the plates must be low enough to allow the dust to fall. A scrubber can remove gases like sulfur dioxide. So, the inhaled deep into the lungs can cause breathing and respiratory symptoms, irritation, inflammation, and damage to the lungs and premature death. So, the correct answer, option A. A is a negative voltage ionize the air around the wire that in turn ionize the particle in the air stream. Question number 2. The following graph shows the species area relationship regression coefficient if shown by. Shown in the diagram of showing species area relationship. Note that on log scale the relationship become linear. During the pioneering and extensive exploration in the wilderness of South American jungles, the great German naturalist and geographer Alexander von Humboldt observed that within the region species richness increased with increasing explored area, but only up to a limit. In fact, the relation between species richness and area for a wide variety of taxa, that is angiosperm plant, bats, bat, and freshwater fishes, turns out to be a rectangular hyperbola. On a logarithmic scale, the relationship is a straight line described by the equation log S is equal to log C plus Z log A, whereas S refers to species richness, A refers to area. Z refers to slope of the line, that is regression coefficient. C refers to C equal to Y, that is called intercept. Ecologists have discovered that the value of Z lies in the range of 0.1 to 0.2, regardless the taxonomy group or the region. But if you analyze the species area relationship among very large areas like the entire continents, you will be find out the slope of the line to be much steeper, that is Z value in the range of 0.6 to 1.2. For example, for frugivorous, that is called fruit eating birds, and mammals in the tropical forest of different continents. So the correct answer option C. In the given pie chart showing the global biodiversity of vertebrates, amphibians, and the birds are respectively represented by, shown in the diagram of representing global biodiversity, number of species of major taxa of vertebrates. Let us look at some interesting aspect about earth biodiversity based on the currently available species inventories. More than 70% of all the species recorded are animal, while plants including algae, fungi, bryophytes, gymnosperm and angiosperms comprise no more than 22% of the total. Among animal, insect are the most species rich taxonomy group, making up more than 70% of the total. That means out of every 10 animals on the planet, 7 are insect. Again, how do you explain the enormous diversification of insect? The number of fungi species in the world is more than combined total of the species of fishes, amphibian, reptiles and mammals. Biodiversity is deficited, showing the species number of major taxa. Although India has only 2.4% of the world land area, its share of the global species diversity is an impressive 8.1%. That is what makes our country one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. Nearly 45,000 species of plants and twice as many of animal have been recorded from India. How many living species are actually there waiting to be discovered and named? If we accept May's global estimate, only 22% of the total species have been recorded so far. Applying this proportion of India's diversity, we estimate that there are probably more than 1 lakh plant species and more than 3 lakh animal species yet to be discovered and described. What would we ever be able to complete the inventory of the biological wealth of our country? Consider the immense and trained manpower, that is taxonomists, and the time required to complete the job. The situation appears more hopeless when we realize that a large fraction of these species faces the threat of becoming extinct even before we discover them. Nature's biological library is burning even before we catalog the title of all the books stocked here. So the correct answer option D. D is amphibians, B is bird, A is mammals, C is reptiles. Question number 4. Given below is a hypothetical pyramid of energy. The amount of energy left at the level of secondary consumers would approximately be shown in the diagram of an ideal pyramid of energy. Observe that primary producers converted only 1% of the energy in the sunlight available to them into NPP, net primary productivity. Any calculation of energy content, biomass or numbers has to be include all organisms at the trophic level. No generalization we make will be true if we take only a few individuals at any trophic level to account. Also, a given organism may occupy more than one trophic level simultaneously. One must remember that the trophic level represents a functional level, not a species as such. A given species may occupy more than one trophic level in the same ecosystem at the same time. For example, a sparrow is a primary consumer when it eats seeds, fruits, peas, and a secondary consumer when it eats insect and worms. Can you work out how many trophic level human being function at in a food chain? In most ecosystem, all the pyramid number, energy and biomass are upright. Producers are more in number and biomass than the herbivores, and herbivores are more in number and biomass than the carnivores. Also, energy at a lower trophic level is always more than at a higher level. There are expectations to the generalization. If you were to count the number of insects feeding on a big tree, what kind of pyramid would be hit? Now add an estimate of the number of small birds depending on the insect, as also the number of larger bird eating the smaller. Draw the shape you would hit. Pyramid of energy is always upright, can never be inverted, because when energy flow from a particular trophic level to next trophic level, some energy is always lost as heat at each step. Each bar in the energy pyramid indicates the amount of energy present at each trophic level in a given time or annually per unit area. So the correct answer option D. D is 50 joule. Question number 5. What is true about the population growth curves shown in the figure given below? Statement 1. Curve A is seen in when responses are not limiting. Statement 2. Curve B is seen when responses are limiting. Statement 3. K minus N by K is the carrying capacity. Shown in the diagram population growth curve, when responses are not limiting growth, plot is exponential. So B, when responses are limiting, the growth plot is logistic. K is carrying capacity. So the growth model, does the growth of a population with the time show any specific and predictable pattern? We have been concerned about unpredictable human population growth and a problem created by it in our country, and it is therefore natural for us to be curious if different animal population in nature behave the same way or show some resistance on growth. Perhaps we can learn a lesson or two from nature on how to control population growth. Number 1, exponential growth. Resource, that is food and space. Availability is obviously essential for the Uniformed growth of population. Ideally, when resources in the habitat are unlimited, each species has the ability to realize fully its innate potential to grow in number, as Darwin observed while developing the theory of natural selection. Then the population growth is an exponential or geometric fashion. If in a population size n, the birth rate, that is not total number but per capita birth, are represented as B, and death rate, that is again per capita death rate. D then increase or decrease in n during the unit time period. T, given the bracket, d by n by d by t will be d by n by d by t is equal to b minus d into n. Let b minus d is equal to r. Then dn by dt equal to rn. The above equation describes the exponential or geometric growth pattern of population and result in a J-shaped curve when we plot in n in relation to time. If you are familiar with the basic calculus, you can derive in integral form of the exponential growth equation as nt is equal to n0 ERT. Nd is equal to population density after time t. N0 is equal to population density at time 0. R is equal to intrinsic rate of natural increase. E is equal to the base of natural logarithm 2.71828. Second one, logistic growth. No population of any species in nature has and its disposal unlimited resources to permit exponential growth. This leads to competition between individual for limited resources. Eventually, the fittest individual will survive and reproduce. The government of many countries have also realized this fact and introduced various restraints with a view to limit human population growth. In nature, a given habitat has enough resources to support a maximum possible number, beyond which no further growth is possible. Let us call it this limited nature carrying capacity for the species in that habitat. A population growing in a habit with limited resources show a initially lag phase, followed the phases of acceleration and deceleration, and finally a asymptotic when the population density reaches the carrying capacity. A plot of n in relation to time result in a sigmoid curve. This type of population is called Verhulst-Peierl logistic growth and is described by the following equation: dn by dt is equal to rn in the bracket k minus n by k, where n is equal to population density at time t. R refers to intrinsic rate of natural increase. K refers to carrying capacity. So the correct answer option A. A is statement 1 and statement only. The carrying capacity is K. Question number 6. The population with the following age pyramid. Shown in the diagram, representation of age pyramids for human population is unstable. In nature, we rarely find isolated single individuals of any species. Majority of them live in groups in a well-defined geographical area, share or complete for similar resources, potentially interbreed and thus constitute a population, although the term interbreeding implies sexual reproduction. A group of individuals resulting from even asexual reproduction is also generally considered a population for the purpose of ecological studies. A population has certain attributes that an individual organism does not. An individual may have birth and death, but a population has birth rate and death rate. In a population, these rates refer to per capita birth and death, respectively. The rates hence express its change in number, either increase or decrease, with respect to members of the population. Here is an example. If in a pond there are 20 lotus plants last year, and through reproduction 8 new plants are added, taking the current population to 28, we calculate the birth rate 8 by 20 is equal to 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. If 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit flies died during a specified time interval, say a week, the death rate in the population during the period 4 by 40 equal to 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. Another attributes characteristics of a population in sex ratio. An individual is either a male or female, but a population has a sex ratio, example 60% of the population female and 40% of the male. The shape of the pyramids reflects the growth state of the population, whether it's growing, second one stable, third one declining. So the size of the population tell us a lot about a status in the habitat. Whatever the ecological process we wish to investigate in a population, be it the outcome of competition with another species, the impact of a predator of the effect of a pesticide application. We always evaluate them in terms of any change in the population size. The size in nature would be low as 10, that is Siberian grants at the Paratpur wetland in any year, or go into millions, Chlamydomonas in a pond. Population size, more technically called population density, decinders capital N, need not necessarily to measured in numbers only. In an area, if there are 200 Parthenium plants, but only a single huge banyan tree with a large canopy, stating that the population density of banyan is low relative to that of Parthenium, amount to underestimating the enormous role of the banyan in that community. In such cases, the present cover or biomass is a more meaningful measure of the population size. Total number is again not an easily adaptable measure. Is the population is huge and counting is impossible or very time consuming. So the correct answer option C. C is likely to remain stable future. Question number 7. In the following representation of organism responds to abiotic factors, the conformers are shown by the letter. Shown in the diagrammatic representation of organism is response. A is conformers, B is regulators, C is partial regulators. Many species would have evolved a relatively constant internal, that is within the body, environment that permits all biochemical reactions and physiological functions to proceed with maximal efficiency and thus enhance the overall fitness of the species. The constancy, for example, could be in terms of optimal temperature and osmotic concentration of body fluids. Ideally, then, the organism should try to maintain the constancy of its internal environment, a process called homeostasis, despite very external environmental conditions that tend to upset its homeostasis. Let us look at various possibilities. Number one, regulate. Some organisms are able to maintain homeostasis by physiological, that is sometimes behavioral also, means which ensures constant body temperature, constant osmotic concentration, etc. Second one, conform. An over maturity or majority, 99% of animals and nearly all plants cannot maintain a constant internal environment. Their body temperature changes with the ambient temperature. In aquatic animal, the osmotic concentration of the body fluids change with that of the ambient water osmotic concentration. These animals and plants are simply conformers. Third one, migrate. The organism can move temporarily from the stressful habitat to a more hospitable area and return when stressful period is over. In human analogy, the strategist is like a person moving from Delhi to Simla from the duration of summer. Fourth one, suspend. In bacteria, fungi and lower plants, various kind of thick-walled spores are formed which help them to survive unbearable condition. These germinate on availability of suitable environment. So the correct answer option A. A is conformers. Question number 8. The following diagram shows the biome distribution with respect to annual temperature and precipitation. Grassland for temperate forest and coniferous forest are represented respectively by. Shown in the diagram, biome distribution with respect to annual temperature and precipitation. A is desert, B is grassland, C is tropical forest, D is temperate forest, E is coniferous forest, F is Arctic and alpine tundra. Ecology at the organism level is essentially physiological ecology, which tries to understand how different organisms are adapted to their environments in terms of not only survival but also reproduction. You may have learned in rotation of our planet around the sun and the axis cause annual variation in the intensity and duration of temperature, resulting in distinct season. This variation together with the annual variation in precipitation, that is, remember precipitation includes both the rain and snow, account for the formation of major biomes such as desert, rainforest and tundra. So the correct answer option B. B is grassland, D is temperate forest, E is coniferous forest. Question number 9. The bioreactor shown in the diagram is shown in the diagram simple stirred tank bioreactor. Small volume culture cannot yield applicable quantities of product. To produce in large quantities, the development of bioreactor, where large volumes, that is 100 to 1000 liters, of culture can be processed, was required. Thus, bioreactor can be thought of as vessel in which raw materials are biologically converted into specific product, individual enzyme, etc., using microbial plant animal or human cells. A bioreactor provides the optimal condition, achieving the desired product by providing optimum growth condition, that is temperature, pH, substrate, salt, vitamin and oxygen. The most commonly used bioreactor are of stirring type. A stirred tank reactor is usually cylindrical or with a curved base to facilitate the mixing of the reactor content. The stirrer facilitates even mixing and oxygen availability throughout the bioreactor. Alternatively, air can be bubbled through the reactor. If you look at the figure closely, you will see that the bioreactor has an agitator system, an oxygen delivery system, and a foam control system, a temperature control system, a pH control system, and sampling pods so that small volume of the culture can be withdrawn periodically. So the correct answer option C. C is simple stirred tank type. Question number 10. What is true about the steps of PCR shown in the diagram given below? Statement 1. Step A occurs at the temperature 95 to 90 degrees Celsius. Statement 2. Steps B occurs at the temperature of 55 degrees Celsius. Statement 3. Step C occurs at the temperature of 72 degrees Celsius. Shown in the diagram, polymerase chain reaction. Each cycle has 3 steps: denaturation, primer annealing, extension of primers. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. In this reaction, multiple copies of the gene or DNA of interest is synthesized in vitro using 2 sets of primers, that is small chemically synthesized oligonucleotides that are complementary to the regions of DNA and the enzyme DNA polymerase. The enzyme extends the primers using the nucleotides provided in the reaction and the genomic DNA as template. If the process of replication of DNA is repeated many times, the segment of DNA can be amplified to approximately billion times. That is 1 billion copies are made. Such repeated amplification is achieved by use of thermostable DNA polymerase, that is isolated from a bacterium Thermus aquaticus, which remain active during the high temperature induced denaturation of double-stranded DNA. The amplified fragment, if desired, can now be used to ligate with a vector for further cloning. So the correct answer option D. Step A is denaturation, step B is annealing of primer, step C is extension of primer is done by tag polymerase, which has the temperature optimum of 72 degrees Celsius.